stardust, so shine.
Peace and blessings, family, and welcome to Labors of Love podcast, the Fatherhood series. We are here to inspire, uplift, and enlighten. Each episode, we will be hearing from fathers sharing their perspectives and experiences on all aspects of the fatherhood journey. This evening, I have the privilege of speaking with Jeff Hiles, father, grandfather, successful entrepreneur, network marketer, and credit repair specialist. Thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome. So we're just going to jump right into the conversation.
All right.
Prior to you becoming a father and growing up, what were some of the messages that you received around pregnancy, labor, delivery?
Honestly, never really talked about it. It's something that was always seen but never talked about. That was in my era. So basically coming up, I know there was a lot of young adults that were never really prepared. I was probably one of them, having kids at the time, and as far as the messages, I didn't want to get put in a situation where I was really unprepared to be a father. Financially, I think I was prepared, but mentally and maybe being with the so-called right person, I wasn't as prepared. So, that was one of the things that might have stagnated, me being a better father, along the route. But as far as the messages, I didn't really get too many messages, except, parents in your ear telling you, what you should do and things like that. And,
Yeah. And I feel like, that's pretty much the consensus across the board, just not really having those conversations that allow for a better understanding. Like we might see it, or it might be in media, but it's not really something that is discussed. It's almost taboo in a sense, because it's associated, like, we're going to talk about sex, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. So it's not really something that we're prepared for. So with that being the understanding, when you did find out that you were about to become a father, did you all have any preparation around childbirth classes or any support around education from the physiological changes, as well as like some of the parental responsibilities?
not at all. No kind of talks, no kind of at the time, I think I was going to the doctor with my wife and everything. Other than that, that was the only way we were preparing for the labor. No kind of in talks with the doctor and things like that, but no other kind of discussions and preparations as far as child labor and everything like that. What medicines to take and things like that. But as far as like in-depth conversations, and not at all.
Yeah. And then what about as far as like options? Was it commonplace? I know for particularly in this society, the assumption is you just have children in the hospital. Were there any options available at that time, or were you aware, you and your wife, were you all aware of any other options?
No, wasn't aware of any options. The only options that were really available to us that we knew about was the hospital. So basically, I think like most families, if you have a doctor, the doctor is associated with a particular hospital. So when you're about to have labor, you call the hospital, and then your doctor meets you there. That's common. That's common practice and routine. But these days, it's people are more informed because we're in the computer age. So you have it's not that you have more options, it's that you know of more options. So back then we didn't know of many options, that were available to us.
Yeah. No, that awareness is absolutely key, because like you said, it's not that it's not there, but it's definitely not common knowledge. It's not something that we talk about. So I'm grateful for these kinds of conversations, because if a light bulb goes off for anyone, like, that is that a possibility, then that adds value. So I appreciate that. So as far as definitely. So as far as with your experience, were you present in the room or during the labor and delivery process with
Yes,
your
I
experiences?
was president. That was an experience.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. That was an experience. I was
Yeah.
very nervous. I couldn't stop coughing. I remember that. I couldn't stop coughing. And it was like, Mr. Hiles, if you can't stop coughing, you gotta leave the room, but that was like one of those, I don't know, I was nervous and scared at the same time. So it kicked in real hard, because I have never experienced anything. I got one child. So that was the first and last childbirth I was, there for. So it was a thing. It was a blessing. Everything, thank God, everything worked out according to plan. So I
No.
got a healthy baby 30 years later.
Oh, yes. Yes, 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 that's beautiful. So from that experience, is there anything that you would share with a soon-to-be father, just in reference to, what you may have learned in that experience, what you wish you may have done differently, or anything of that nature from just the pregnancy, labor, delivery aspect? Like, were there the cravings and the changes and just that whole process of being in that with your wife?
Right, right. I mean, like I said, now that we're in the computer age, you have access to a lot of information. So being that you have access to information, you know, try to go out there and see what's available to you and see what's best for you. Because what's best for this person might not be best for the next person. So you have to see what's best for you and your wife and your situation. But just be knowledgeable. That's the main thing. Be knowledgeable and always seek some information that can help you, along your path and along your journey. Because you don't know. The hospital might not be the best thing for you. Everybody says, northern medicine, is good in some ways and bad in others. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we as Black people, we've been delivering babies forever without hospitals, and we don't have strong, beautiful Black babies that came along. So, I mean, you gotta expand your mind sometimes. You know what I mean? Don't be limited and boxed in what people tell you. You know, make your
Oh,
own judgment. You know.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. Because again, that point that you made about childbirth and how we've been delivering
Right.
babies,
That's
the fact
right.
that we're here
That's
means that a
right.
lot of us were
Mhm.
born before there were hospitals in existence. Okay.
Mhm.
So just, yeah, tapping into that. And I find what you said really empowering, that information, because even from the female perspective of our bodies physically changing and
Right.
us going through it, I know for myself, it was the information that helped me be more confident and comfortable in the choices, right? Like,
Okay.
because you have this on board, you kind of have an idea or an understanding of what's going on. It definitely puts you more at ease, I find. So
Right.
that information aspect is like, it's significant. So in the choices that you all did make, do you feel like there was any pushback from uh family or friends, in whether it's how you chose to birth or any of the parenting aspect? Or do you feel like, it was pretty much always supported by those around you?
Other choice we made was supported. I believe if we hadn't made the choice of the hospital, that might have been looked down upon, you know what I mean? Because everybody, like my mother in particular, I'm pretty sure, I believe she telling me she had a midwife when, her mother or whatever, and most of the kids were delivered in the house, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
But my mother's big on doctors, you know what I mean? Whatever the doctor says is law, pretty much, so that's what she's been doing all these years. And a lot of people, that's what they've been doing. But like I said, if it hadn't been for the hospital and we hadn't went another route, it'd have probably been more concerns than using the hospital, because people do what everybody else is doing. They figure if everybody's doing it, it's the right way to do it. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily true, because people that's successful in life think outside the box. They don't think like everybody else. You know what I mean? So you got to think like that sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. Outside the box, and then and also to speak to just that the generational understandings. Like, they did a real push marketing wise to get
Right.
us to believe that doctors,
Oh,
are always right, right? Like,
oh yeah, yeah, all the time.
And yeah, so I definitely can, just empathize with that point of view. But at the end of the day, like you said, if you have the information on board, you definitely can make the best choices for you.
Right. You feel better with more options. You know what I'm saying? At least you have things to choose from. Somebody's shoving something down your throat saying this is what you have to do, opposed to this is what I want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. So, as far as from the parenting perspective, now that you've come into fatherhood, you're getting used to having this new life in your presence. What are some of the adjustments or things that, from a fatherhood perspective, what was that like for you to begin that journey?
Wow. I don't know. It was a beautiful thing. You know, it was a new life you have in front of you, and you basically want to give all your time. You want to be around this little life and contribute and help out. You want to help him take his first steps. You helping him eat. You helping him, do certain things. So I got a thrill out of that. I had a love for that. You know, the little time. I got mad when my daughter got big because it was like when she got bigger, she didn't really want to be around me no more. She got friends and stuff, but when she was little, she needed daddy. But when she got to that
Mhm.
teenager age, it's like, see ya, I'm out. So I treasured those years, of her growing up and learning from me and me being there. It's important for fathers to be in their kids' life. It's only, everybody has a role, and I tried to show my daughter the quality she should be looking for in a man. That's why I wanted to be there, and not just for that, but as a father, you want your daughter to look for certain qualities in a man further down the road, when she's looking for somebody to be with and spend her life with.
Oh, that's a powerful statement because you are absolutely right. Just that whole setting the standard, right?
Yeah. You can't drop the ball with that.
No, that's important. It's
Right,
important.
right.
And
Mhm.
and then as you spoke of like the various stages, like that, that infant, toddler, little
Yeah.
people stage is like it's so precious. And you're right, they are so
Mhm.
dependent and reliant and and to watch them transition into, first taking their first steps. Now they going to the bathroom by yourself. Now they getting in and out the car, they feeding themselves like
I quit. I quit, boy.
yeah, so just being present and cherishing those moments.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of value there. So from since your daughter is 30, so you have that experience of all of those various stages into adulthood. What are some of the highlight reels or some of the things that, some of the wisdom learned along the way through the various stages of parenting through those stages? Is there anything that you can share about, kind of what your experience was like?
I know with girls, you have to be real patient. You have to, it's not like raising boys. You got to be real patient, real tolerant. Their attitudes on a different level than boys. You know what I mean? So you have to be more of a listener than a talker. Sometimes you got to know when to listen, know when to talk to little girls. Or I should say, young women.
Mhm.
Sometimes but it was a blessing. I kind of wanted a boy, but I'm glad I
Mhm.
got a girl. You know what I mean? I'm glad I got a strong, woman that I could raise and, teach her kids now. I got two grandkids, so two boys that I didn't have, so that's the boys I have now. So I get
Yeah.
to see them grow up and be strong young men. So that's a blessing right there.
Wow, no, that is beautiful, and that's another layer to this whole conversation because, like you say, you've experienced parenthood,
Right.
and now you're a grandparent. So it's a different level. Like it's not the same with parenting because you love them up, you can send them home, but you also are very present. So what is that like?
Yeah, I mean that's cool too. It's a little different. Now as parents, we're more like gun ho because the kids. You're younger, your patience ain't where it should be. Because they in the house running around doing whatever. But like you said, they're grands now. It's like they get on your nerves. Like yo, you gotta go back home to mom. I'm tired of you. I don't got the patience like I used to have. I ain't got the energy like I used to have. You know what I mean? I ain't young no more. So I still like having them around, but see ya, I gotta go home. For a while, I love you, but you gotta go home.
Yeah. And just that multi-generational and being present from a multi-generational standpoint, like that's powerful. One of the purposes of this platform is representation, right? Like we it's important to see, not just hear, because we hear a lot of things and some of the things aren't as favorable or some are contradictory, because I know the statistics don't match up with the men that I know. The men that I have, that I have in my periphery and indirectly in my life, like you all show up. So to be able to see that and to be able to have that presence in your life is important. So I appreciate just that multi-generational piece in the perspective of the grandfather. So are there any highlight reel standouts from your daughter's experience growing up, and now even your grandsons, just those moments that are like bring a smile to your face when you think back at it?
I mean, like I said, most of the moments to me that were precious when they took their first steps. Like my daughter just sent me a video of my grandson. She just had another baby in November, I believe it was. Yeah, November. So I'm pretty much a new grandfather. He's just turned 6 months. His name is Amir. The other one's name is Amari. So the big one, 10 years apart. Go figure.
Oh, yes. I understand.
So him just rolling over little things like that from his stomach to his back. When my daughter was first learning how to climb out the crib. You come back in the room, they out the, you don't even know they can do that. They surprise you real fast. You got to watch them, because kids is, and they wait till you leave the room. They're not stupid. They're real smart. They'll watch you and wait till you leave, and then they start doing their little thing. Right. So little things like that. Oh, I got one little story. When my daughter was staying with her mother's mother, so her grandmother, they lived in like a brownstone. So when they had an event, I think my daughter was 3 years old. They had an event around the corner in the school where her brother went, and my daughter couldn't have been no more than 3 or 4 years old, and she left out the apartment because it was a ground floor apartment. She walked out the apartment. I don't know how. The door must have been open or something. She went out, walked up the street now, turned the corner, walked in the school. They were having an event, and found her mother in the crowd. I swear to God. Found her mother. Her mother's looking around like, who you going? Like three. Listen. I don't know. God is good.
All the time.
The girl didn't get lost. She didn't get snatched.
Oh my God, there's so much to that. Just the whole, like you said, the protection and her being able to get to, but her intelligence, right? Like I'm sure she watched and saw everybody how they do whatever they did.
Maybe 4 or 5, but she couldn't. She wasn't older than 4 or 5. I swear, she wasn't. She wasn't too much older than that. Maybe around 4. Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Oh, and I'm glad that she found her mom, because I'm sure the grandmother walking into the room and not her not being
yeah. Ooh. Crazy. Yeah. That's all you can say. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. No, that's amazing. And again, it speaks to just this whole parenthood journey. You never know.
That's why I'm glad I had a girl. Girl's smart. I ain't talking bad about guys, but girls mature a little faster. You know what I mean? Mentally, they're real smart.
That's scientifically documented.
Right. With that story too.
Wow. Right. Wow. No, that's an amazing story. I truly appreciate that. And just your insight and what this journey has been for you. So again, you shared a lot of just really insightful information and your perspective. But if there is anything that in particular that you would share with your grandsons when they are older and expecting with their family, is there anything that you would share with them to help them prepare for this process?
I would just say, remember how your mother and your father was with you, bring that to the table with your kids. Because, and you really don't even have to say that, because if you had great parents, or parents that were there, like I did what I did because my parents were there for me, you know what I mean? And they were, I can remember when I was little and I had chicken pox and my father would pick me, I would cry and, look at him and he would just walk me around the house. And I couldn't have been no more than 5 years old, but I could remember things like that, you know what I mean? Just to put me to sleep and, make sure I was okay. And it's moments like that you that mean the most. It's not the gifts and it's just the time that your parents spent with you that made you feel important. So that's what I would tell my grandkids. When you have kids, just make them feel important. And about what you can give them is, physically or monetary, is like the time that you spend with them. And that's what I tried to do as a father. I wasn't the best at it, but I did my best. You know what I mean? I did what I could do.
No, that's powerful. That is absolutely, and I appreciate that wisdom, and it resonates, that being present
Right.
and showing up, and for those who had that valuable interaction with their parents, absolutely, and for those who didn't, do the things that you would have wanted to.
Right.
Because that is, yes, that's the lesson and that's the value. So I truly appreciate that, and it resonates. Before you go, I wanted to just really touch on, you mentioned something earlier that didn't go over my head, just as far as thinking out of the box and just
Okay.
a lot of opportunities, and how there's things that are around you or in front of you that maybe if you're not thinking in a broader stance, you might miss out on. So what are some of the things that you have going on, or that you care to share in reference to what you're doing?
Well, mostly I'm in the financial literacy, and I want to educate people on credit, because credit is important. I think that's one of the most important aspects of people's lives, because that's something we should be taught in school, and we're not. Financial literacy and credit, because the first thing when you come out of high school and you getting loans, that you're dealing with credit now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and you're the next stage is apartment. The next stage is credit to get a car.
Hmm.
So you have to know how to manage your money first, and then deal with the credit aspect as well. So I like to, just educate my clients and people on what's coming up and how to deal with certain things like that, because it's a lot, especially when you don't know. Everybody just thinks credit is paying your bills on time. It's not.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they jack up your reports. So you need to know what to look for because everybody's credit report has at least some kind of errors on it. So I teach people what to look for in that aspect too. Even if you do have good credit, there's still things on there you should be concerned about.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, financial literacy, again, that whole understand knowledge is power. Like
Right.
that is a real thing, regardless if it's we talking about childbirth or we talking about financial education. Just having that on board, you can make better choices. So I appreciate what it is that you're offering around the financial literacy.
Mhm.
So how do people tap into that information?
Well, my website for basically credit repair is Brighter Future for Me, the number 4 at I'm getting my brain getting old.
And
Brighter
no,
Future for
I'm gonna
Me,
put some
brighterfutureforme.com. And
okay.
I'm assuming be coming out with, for people who don't want to pay, credit repair might be over their head. I'm assuming be coming out with a do-it-yourself credit system. So if you want to, and it's going to be free.
Oh,
So you
wow.
can, yeah. So everybody can't afford credit repair. So if you want to do it yourself, I'm going to be offering it for free as well. So you can still go to the website and check that out as well.
Wow. No, that's excellent. And all of the information, I'm definitely going to make sure that I have it in the bio and in the
Yeah.
description.
Mhm.
So people could just, click on the link and get right to it.
Right,
Because I know a lot of times you're trying to spell stuff out, or, it's easier just to click the link and
right,
get right
right.
to it.
Definitely. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll make sure that that
I
happens. And
appreciate that.
yeah, and yeah, I know we interacted in the sphere of business, so you
Mhm.
know I appreciate a lot of the things that you have done and are consistently doing, just around you know tapping people in.
Right.
because it's good information out there, and
I thank
we
you as
can all
well.
value it.
Thank you as well. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Appreciate this platform.
Thank you. And I appreciate you making time to come on again, just valuable information. There's so much to be,
Right.
experienced in somebody else's story. Like there's a lot of wisdom. You never know what you don't know, and you don't know who needed to hear what is being
Right.
said. So I'm grateful for you taking the time out. And again, the representation piece to just be able to get the visual of just empowering Black men fathering.
Right.
So
It's a journey. Trust me, it's a journey. Gotta
indeed,
be ready.
indeed, indeed. So thank you for so much for joining us this evening. For those of you who are listening, if you found value in the information that was shared, please, share it with everyone. It's not even just fathers. We're speaking to the community. This is a community experience and a community effort. Everyone has been impacted by birth. If we are here,
Right.
we have experienced birth in some way, shape, or form. So please continue to share this information and tap in.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, y'all. Peace and blessings, family.
Peace.